Hey, Chris.
Morning, Brandon. How you doing?
Well, I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right.
Excellent. All
Me and
right.
you and some
Well,
autopilots here, huh?
I know I may I may send him out if Norm Butch don't arrive. Hey, James is jumping in. Awesome. There we go.
Hey, just a quick question, Brandon, for
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'll probably be using basically the same setup as my sound. Okay, I'll be at home. I think my picture will be a little bit better, but
Yeah.
sound wise, okay.
Yeah, your sound's fine. And
Okay.
then yeah, if it's on your picture, just if you can try and make it more flat instead of something you're looking down on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Yep.
doing this stand-up game right
Cool.
now.
Yeah. Morning, James.
What's up, guys?
What's up there,
Look at
Bunyan?
the
Mr. Bunyan?
the,
Trying to
the
talk him into
live.
Yeah,
doing
I'm
leaning into
hacking it
the Paul
down,
Bunyan.
baby. Let's go.
The 6'8" guy rocking the flannel. You didn't axe maybe a
You don't want to see me with an axe. Something's about to get messed up.
I
You're
love
throwing your
it.
back out, losing a finger, something's going wrong. Big
Yeah.
hole
Oh
in your
man.
leg.
I
All
I
right.
I
Hey,
picked
Cups.
I picked up my blue ox last night. I just got that thing. It's a new Tahoe, blue
Ah,
Tahoe. So there's my Paul Bunyan
Dude,
ox right there.
the big blue rock.
nice.
So,
Nice.
Very nice. Good stuff. Hey guys, I don't know if anyone else is coming in. I don't want to wait too long, but the one thing I wanted to do, we haven't done for a while is you guys want to take 30 seconds to a minute. I know you guys all kind of know each other, but I'd love to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, but more from what do you do and who's your ideal customer? What are you looking for? And see if you guys can all help each other a bit with some referrals.
Sounds great.
yes.
Who wants to go? Cups.
I'll go first. Michael Cups, I'm based in Dallas, Texas. Work for a company called ActiveOps, and we're based out of the UK, but our US headquarters are in Dallas after they bought the company I was part of and ran, called OpenConnect. And we work with big banks, insurance companies. Health insurance is primarily where I focus. So think about Humana, Elevance, Blue Cross Blue Shields across different states. And then our banking is, the biggest banks. We have all five of the biggest banks in Canada, that type of thing. And we work at, our typical buyer is the COO's office and down. The COO doesn't really engage in evaluating us, but the VP of claims at an insurance company or the VP of wholesale lending at a bank and things like that. And we help them with operational efficiencies. We have a set of SaaS-based software and services that help them with productivity and time management, capacity planning, things like that. So that's us, and that's me.
Can you
Cool.
say the name?
Thanks, Cups.
I'll also say I also wrote a book last year, and if you want a copy, drop me a note and I'll send it to you. It's about priority management and time management. So
Could use that.
always happy to share that.
I need to go buy one. Is it on Amazon, Cups?
Yes, it is.
Uh,
And
I need to go buy one.
What's the name of the book?
Time Bandit. It's a short read too. It hit bestseller for short reads, which they gauge as 90-minute or less for business and money and time management. So it's kind of fun. It's really just a short book, and it's stuff you probably already know, but it just kind of puts it in a framework that's easy to use.
Congratulations on writing a book.
Yeah, that's
Thanks.
fantastic.
Awesome. Who's next?
I'll go next. Hey guys, Chris Dunn, newish to the group. I am with a company called Blue Hive Exhibits and Events. I've been in this industry for 28 years or so. With this company for 19. We are a custom exhibit builder, designer, builder, and manager. So in other words, most of the stuff that we build, we manage programs for customers of all kinds. We are not industry specific or show specific. So our kind of ICP is typically anybody from CMO on down, typically in a marketing role or event role. So marketing directors, depends on the size of the company and all the names. There's a number of different titles that we're seeing. Some demand gen folks kind of working in the event world nowadays. But we're kind of a mid-level size-wise player. We're kind of a little bit bigger than a boutique. I was listening actually this morning, Brandon, as you guys were talking. It was one of the last shows that you had done, and I forget if it was I forget who you're talking to, but anyways, it spoke to me. It was kind of like we're just that Goldilocks size, or maybe it was another podcast. Anyways, we're kind of the Goldilocks size, right? We're big enough to handle any project. We're small enough to give a shit, and not let you be lost in as just a number. So we kind of, I think our differentiator is our people. We've got a great creative team. We've got a lot of new people, but a ton of experience, and we're kind of really trying to dial in that upper level white glove concierge level service.
Cool.
That's it.
Thanks, Chris.
No book.
No
Not
book.
yet. Not yet. Working on that.
Mr. James.
What if you did best designs of breweries,
Ooh,
right?
this is a project I can get
Research, right? For a book. I would
visited
help to be
100 of the best breweries in the country.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. Here's what James and I think.
Chris, make sure you look in the chat, because Cups offered to introduce you to their CMO.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Cup.
awesome.
Thanks, Cups.
I'm James Gilman with Perimeter Office Products. We were a private company based in Atlanta, Georgia. We grew organically to about 18 million from 2017 to 2018. And were acquired by Office Depot. So we were one of the original private companies that jumped on board a public company in a special, pocket that called the Federation. I was not responsible for naming that group, but I like it. And so now there's about 16 independent dealers across the country that fall into this group, about $650 million worth of revenue between the lot of us. So Perimeter is a 65 employee. We mainly focus here in Atlanta. We've got 20 of our own drivers. So very similar to Blue Hive. I like that Goldilocks metaphor. We can compete with the big boys because we've got them in our back pocket and pull from them. So we have the cost advantage, but we're small enough to give a shit, right? So, and our people, again, are our differentiators. So the little things that annoy the crap out of you with dealing with a major player like an Amazon or a Staples or an Office Depot, you're not going to get that with us, and you still get the same pricing. So,
And
cool business.
you're the
model.
host of a really cool show.
yeah, I don't have a book yet, but pushing the envelope. Podcast is my new podcast. So Entendre intended. And I'm enjoying connecting with other local and other business leaders and just hearing their story and how they've overcome challenges, and hoping that's an inspiration for the listeners.
Awesome.
Great.
Hey, Butch, are you still there? You want to share about what you're doing and who you're looking for?
I've only been on the call from about halfway through James's. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Y'all hold on a second. Let me get on here and I'll share.
All right. And let me set it up while we're doing that. Look, I want to build community. Guys, obviously I want to serve you all really well as we navigate this whatever we call it, modern selling using LinkedIn. I think we're on a big shift right now around LinkedIn and around modern, I'll say modern selling, but I think it's about modern influence. It's about creating relationships through a lot of digital channels. And so the motions are different. And I want to create this as a community as we get more and more people coming in. And And I want you guys to all know who each other are and what you do and support each other, because I think, we need each other right now. So Butch, you're up, and then I've got 4 quick things I want to share, but they're good things. They're deep things today, but they're quick.
So what am I do? I'm telling what I do.
Yeah, who you are, what you do, who you're looking for.
I am Butch Nicholson. I just do whatever Brandon tells me every day.
Yeah, I wish.
So I work for Fist Bump. I have some fancy title about sales, but I am the only person that solely sales for Fist Bump. My ideal prospect is a CEO or a sales leader. And I just do what we teach. I spend some combination every day of posting, commenting, connecting, setting up calls, and just preaching the word of Fist Bump.
Yep. And then Butch doesn't solely focus on it, but he does have that bent of being able to focus on some of the baby boomers who are still, working with the recession and all the other stuff that we've dealt with. Unfortunately, a lot of baby boomers need to work a little bit longer than they intended. And so there's that audience of people that have great, like Butch, he's got 40 plus years sales experience. He's done amazingly well for himself, but sales has changed. And so he's able to speak to them about that. So, all right. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Brandon. That is something that I have not done as good a job on as I am going to do starting now.
There you go. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So, hey guys, I want to go through 4 things, and it's coming up, I promise. I want to talk about 4 things to help you really refine and find your style and your voice, because it's so important right now that we have strength in who we are and how we're presenting ourselves. I've got my team. We've got, Jeanette's joining us on the marketing side. I've got Noor, who's helping me a lot. We got Reem on our concierge side. We've got a couple other roles open right now. But one of the things that I've discovered is getting really, really clear and focused and repetitive on our style and our voice. And I want to share with you one of my failure is that I've done, and I know better than this, but with in Funnel Amplified and that time, Cups, and not that Funnel Amplified's, I call it a failure because it didn't make it where I thought it could go. Right? We should have been able to do more, and I think the reason why we didn't is that I listened to the voices in the space, and I pivoted our business, our go-to-market strategy around SaaS instead of a service that leveraged tech, because everything was SaaS at the time. And I went with it because everything I read, everything I did, everything in the industry was around SaaS, and service. Investors weren't investing in service. It was too expensive. You needed too many people. It was, employee heavy and all those things. But that's not what I'm best at. What I'm best at is being in a service. So I let those voices move me. The other thing that I did is my message around the how to use LinkedIn. I let myself get moved, and Cups, I know you were around when I was talking about these things. I'm like, hey, I used automation on LinkedIn in 2015 and learned pretty quickly where the limitations were. And I was pretty vocal for a little bit about the lack of automations and why we shouldn't be using them. But then so many people were talking about, oh, it's this, it's that, and you're going to be successful. It took me several years before I realized I was right about what I was saying, that we were causing more harm than good with a lot of the automation, because we were just pissing people off by spamming their inbox in LinkedIn. And I wasn't as strong about that because a lot of people I talked to, they wanted the easy button. And I gave in and I stopped talking about it. I didn't provide the easy button. I didn't go out and create automation. I thought about it because I'm like, well, this is what people are buying. So I was just conflicted about who I am and what I really believed in and what I was best at and my public voice. So my first show, the digital influence show, floundered. And I believe it's because I didn't focus on these four things. The first one I want you guys to think about is taking a stand on your message and mission. Okay. Look, I can be a little too direct at times. So I'm not saying screw everybody and, come at it from a harsh tone and an arrogant standpoint, but really think and spend the time about who do you really want to be in this space? What is your, one of my local friends, she uses the term uniqueifier, right? What is your uniqueifier? How do you get laser focused on that and be consistent and realize that not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to agree with what you have to say. But one of the best things that we could do, especially on LinkedIn, is be okay with that. Because as much as it isolates some people from us, I believe even more so, it pulls people to you. What I've noticed over the last several months, 6 months-ish, as I got to this point of going, what am I doing? Relationships matter. Relationships are the most important thing. Relationships will always be the most important thing. And I let that get tempered by automation. Oh, it's relationships don't matter anymore. You just need to get the information in buyers' hands and let buyers, all of that stuff. And I don't want to beat that into the ground, but I allowed that to change my message. And I think what it did is it weakened my message. So I want to encourage you guys, don't be afraid to take your stand. Don't be afraid to really be direct and get clarity, not just what you stand for, but if you need to know with clarity what you stand against. Because when we're strong in that, we have the courage to be consistent with it. We stand out. And like I said earlier, not only do we move people away from us that are probably going to waste our time anyway, but we actually attract the people to us that really resonate it. I believe, especially in LinkedIn right now, people are looking for people that they can kind of rally around, who have the message, have something that they agree with, that they believe in, because most people are still very scared to put content out on LinkedIn. So the more we're focused and we can stand by it, I think we're going to actually draw bigger crowds towards us and push the people away from us that, frankly, we don't need them to be near us anyway. So I'm going to pause there. I got 3 more of those, but any thoughts or anything you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, just, as you're saying that, I'm thinking kind of like, all right, so who am I and why am I here? Standing on something or standing for something. And what first comes to my mind is everything right now in my industry has pivoted. Coming out of COVID, it was drinking from a fire hose. Everybody just wanted to go back to live events, which was great. Over the last 6 months, it's really gone towards like everything is about money and budget, and like we're banging our head against the wall. And I'm sure lots of other folks are kind of there, just based on whatever industries you might be calling on. I see crazy stuff going on in the tech industry with, entire marketing groups are just getting axed. So it's nuts. But, and I guess this is something I've been kind of banging the drum on, but beating around the bush at it, is like, I'm okay with not being, all things to all people. We're not an inexpensive solution. And I guess so this resonates with me. I don't know how to do it in a way that I don't look like a pompous, wanker.
Mhm.
But it's like, how do you position yourself? Like, listen, we know that we're not a fit for a lot of groups who don't have a reasonable budget, but if you do, we're a great fit that you can, and we can work with a lot of budgets and we can help you grow, right? So I guess
Good.
it resonates. What you're saying resonates with me, and I look forward to maybe also being able to kind of workshop through some of these thoughts on how we can help each other, kind of
Yeah.
hone that message.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick for me, what you had talked about, the fear, like, and I just did a recent post on it. That's a real thing for me,
Mhm.
because in sales, your job is to connect. And when you are in a one-on-one relationship, you know how to appeal to that individual to try to create a relationship. So when you're doing one-to-many, it's very, very uncomfortable for me.
Yep.
Because you don't have control over the room. And that's what I really became a master of in my 14 years of, B2B sales, is walking into a room and being able to read it and control it, and losing that control by connecting with, many is very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I wanted to put that in there, and Brandon, you've helped me out a ton to overcome that, and obviously the
No,
program.
and James, you're spot on. I think we all do that, especially, we were in the field, we were selling, and everything was very situational because it was one-on-one or in a small group, and we could adapt within a certain area and still be true to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, oh, the topic's going to be on this. Okay, well, I can talk about that even though it's not my key area that I talk about. And yeah, we don't have that immediate feedback, and we can't adjust. And so I think we just need to own our space.
And unfortunately, I just had a something pop up, a hard stop at 11:30. I've got to
Okay.
jump on, so
No
but
problem.
I'll just let you know where I'm going.
Okay. All right. Cups, you want to add anything? No pressure.
No, other than it was interesting about being apologetic or not apologetic, and it's a different observation, but it is about taking a stand. I was on a podcast training masterclass this week, Monday and Tuesday, and the owner of it, what she specializes in getting you on podcasts, but this masterclass was more about how to interact before, during, and after. But so she sells a service, and she said it 100 times, and I had a one-on-one with her, and I said, I really appreciate how you qualify deals, because she just kept saying, listen, if you're an entrepreneur or a company that is making between 6 figures or over 6 figures or over 7 figures, then you qualify. If you don't, basically said you don't need to be here because you can't afford her. And it was what I appreciated. At first, I thought it was a little abrasive, like I think maybe Chris said that, but when I thought about it, it's the right for everybody. I mean, if you can't afford it, she's telling you, go ahead and don't waste your time here, right? And it was,
and don't waste my time.
yeah, exactly.
We're not saying
Exactly. And fortunately, she never said that, but
Right.
I think it was, like I said, at first it was like, wow, she's going to turn off some people. And then I thought, well, good for her. So
Yeah, and that's what I mean is, and don't waste my time. We don't want to verbalize it, but
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. Like, hey, let's get clarity on who we are and who we're not.
Yeah.
And be okay with it. So, okay, I'm going to keep moving. Very similar, kind of the next step is earn other people sharing about you. When we are super focused and we take that action and we demonstrate it routinely, then what happens is other people talk about us. Now, this happens offline, but it definitely happens on LinkedIn. Here's my example, is there's a gentleman named Joe Oquist on LinkedIn. I did happen to meet Joe in person accidentally. We both volunteered for a day to go serve at this nonprofit, and we got put on the same team. We got to hang out. We got to know each other better. But he periodically, like, 2-3 times a month, tags me in conversations because he and I talked that day so much about digital twins, about what we were doing with Fist Bump. Now, when I talked to him, we weren't there yet, but I shared with him everything that we were doing, and he was into AI, and he loves AI, but didn't have this concept around the twins. But by being consistent, what happens is people will start to talk about us. If we're being a little flaky, we're being a little fluffy, they don't remember us, and they don't know where, they don't have an easy place to put us, right? So Cups, with the example you gave, if you came across somebody today that was talking about podcasting and fit that, you would immediately have clarity of, oh, you should call her, because it gave clarity. It's kind of like, you know, Bob Berg in The Go-Giver. He talks a lot about asking people, just serve people, like, who is your perfect client? And the reason he does it is he knows if he has clarity on exactly who your perfect client is, that he's more likely to remember it, or subconsciously it'll pop up when he hears and talks to somebody that fits that. And he wants to be a giver, so he wants to set himself up in a way that he's most likely to remember them in order to give the referral. And we can use that to our advantage by being super clear. So the reason I asked you all at the beginning, and yeah, I want to build community and all that, but I wanted you guys to be able to share with each other who you are, what do you do, who's your ideal customer, and start getting clarity on that. Because then we got this whole community of people that will have clarity on who we are and who we're looking for, and can be that source of referrals for us. Any comments, anything you guys want to add to that?
Just, I got a clarification question on that. So when you say if we are flaky or fluffy, maybe with regards to what we're putting out there, and I'm using myself as an example because that's obviously what I know, is I kind of tend to bounce around between personal motivation, leadership, what I do for a business, and then, you know, weave in the family stuff. So when you say kind of flaky or fluffy, do you have, is there anything specific which, and I get the concept of like, no, Chris is a trade show, exhibit, and event professional, right? You can put me in that bucket, but when I start talking about stuff that's too far out of the those parameters, all of a sudden I muddy the waters, kind of thing. Or
No. So I think you talking from a thought leadership standpoint about like leadership and stuff is great, but be very specific and own it and what you want to. James, do you want to say something before you leave? Oh, he was just saying bye. Okay, but own it.
Okay. Be
consistent and be focused on it. You know, and here's my example of what I didn't do well before. And it was partly because of what James was saying. It's hard to adapt when you're speaking in public on LinkedIn because you're not getting immediate feedback. You know, I've gone through all the John Maxwell training. I'm a certified coach. I love John Maxwell's content. But when I first started talking about John Maxwell content, there's some things in there that are pretty rigid about how you do things. And I had a softer message to it. And I believe that really hurt my brand because it's like, well, where do you really fit, Brandon? Like, is this really the way you think you should be a leader, or is there a gray area? And people didn't know where to place me. And so if they don't know where to place you, they don't place you anywhere. Does that make more sense, Chris?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Cool. Anything else you guys want to add to it? Okay. Create something unique. Cups, you have Time Bandits, you have a book. It gives you a platform that you can speak to as an expert, as a leader. You're not a follower. You're not trying to fit in. Like, you're really have a point that helps you stand out. James has his show now. That's one way he's really standing out. He's taking a stand. It's called pushing the envelope in what he's doing. what I really want you to think about is create something unique, create something that you want, you believe in, you can be passionate about, you can be consistent, and it's going to supplement or support everything that you do in your business. Now, it could be a framework, right? It could be a model. It could be that you write a book or create a platform. Like there's lots of ways that you can do it. It could be a very specific message, Chris, on how you should be looking at trade shows and booth strategy in this modern era, right? And there could be a framework to it. There could be, we could partner and talk about what do you do pre-show? What do you do at the show? What do you do during the show? How do you want the flow of your booth? What are 5 different ways to look at a booth strategy that influences the build? But have something that gives you that uniqueifier. And when you have that uniqueifier, it gives people a way to remember you. I'm bringing back my dad jokes. I haven't been posting about them lately. I listen to, love them, but Tom and Carson didn't like the dad jokes on the show anymore. And we phased them out. And I was like, okay. And, maybe I played out the dad joke thing. But look, the dad joke thing for me was very strategic. One, I do love dad jokes. I love corny humor. I love humor. It also helped people remember me. I mean, I've got people out there that still refer to me as the dad joke guy. And I let it go because I started listening. I listened to their feedback. I'm like, oh, okay. But, I have 5 kids. When I tell dad jokes, people remember that. I talk about my family. Like it gave a way for people to classify me and remember me and help me stand out from the sea of sameness. Right now, we've got our modern selling blueprint that we have. We haven't been talking about it enough, but that's going to get framed up more. I am going all in on what I believe for the last 6-7 years and just didn't honestly have the balls to stay focused on it because there were so many voices out there saying different things. But we've got to look at LinkedIn like a super conference. We have to approach LinkedIn like we behave in a conference. So my messaging around LinkedIn as a conference is what I'm going to go all in on and create that uniqueness to it. So I want to encourage you guys. That's just from my examples. That's from my mistakes that I've made. I want to encourage you guys to take a look at that and go, where can you have that uniqueifier that you can own, you can be passionate about, you can be focused, and it contributes to you being successful in what you're selling. You guys want to add anything to that?
I don't know. This isn't necessarily a place that I want to go, but to speak to your point of the dad joke thing, during COVID, when there was no events, I did 1 or 2 things. I leaned into showing existing older projects that we had done. Hey, can't wait to get back onto the show floor, Throwback Thursday, blah, blah, blah. And then I spent a lot of time hiking with my dog, and I took a lot of pictures and, my thoughts from the woods. And people were like, you're the guy with the dog on LinkedIn. And that was something that was unique, whether it helps me kind of build the brand in a direction or my own personal brand in a direction that I wanted to go. I'm not 100% sure. But I found that to be true, that like, hey, you're the guy who posts about his dog on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I do other stuff too, but thank you for remembering me for whatever stood out.
Yeah. Those little things stand out, and you could take like the walk with the dog and turn it into, these are the things that you think about the exhibit industry, or these are while you're walking with your dog, right? So you use pictures of you're on this walk with the dog and it looks like all the other ones, but it's different, right? You're wearing different clothes, you're in a different location, whatever, but bring in the consistency with, this is what I think about when I'm on the walks, and I'm going to share with you my thought on today. So Cups, you and I talked about this a while ago about my Jeep thoughts. Like I do a lot of thinking when I'm in my car, and I love my Jeep and I love the Jeep culture. And when I am talking about the Jeep, or I've done the thoughts from the Jeep, I get people that reach out to me and go, "Oh my gosh, you're a Jeep guy. I love my Jeep." And there's that bond, and there's connection, and there's something memorable. But the consistency of that and the uniqueness to you, right? Some of the big things like Gary Vee, what's he known for? Passionate, yelling, and cussing, but we remember him, right? Brené Brown, we know she's known for about being authentic, about taking risk emotionally with people. Like we know, and those are tough. Well, Gary's isn't that tough. That's who the guy is. But we know them for those things. So my encouragement is figure out something that you can create unique, and then be consistent with it, and just make sure that it's consistent with who you are, so that when you go to do the work, you're excited to do that work. It's not inauthentic where it makes you go, I got to do this. Don't create it for them. You create it for you, for them. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Anything you guys want to add to it? Anything you think I missed? Cool. All right. The last thing supplements all of this, really focuses, is look, the riches are in the niches. We're all in industries that are saturated. None of us are doing anything totally unique, right? But what can we do that gives us original ideas? What process can we do? How can we help people think about their problem or their challenge, or think about the thing that they want to accomplish? How can we help them focus? The clearer we can get on that, and this is really not any different than the other three I said. I love the focus that the phrase "the riches are in the niches" brings, and just reminding us, building our tribe of people that can rally around our message, our framework, our strength of belief in what we're saying, what we're talking about. Yeah, we can look at it as, it's going to isolate us from some people, but we also can look at it on the other end, that it's going to be a rallying point for other people that believe with us. And I firmly believe there's a lot of people sitting on the outside watching that are looking to find a place where they could say, I belong here. These are my people. This is my message. I can rally behind this. Maybe they haven't thought about it yet. Maybe they haven't had the courage to really say it. But I think when we're able to be consistent with that, a lot of like-minded people will find us. If we try to include everyone, we just don't appeal to anyone, is really what it comes down to. So as you're thinking about your posts, your content you publish, you think about the way that you comment on other people's posts. A lot of times we don't want to be controversial, but we want to be part of the conversation. I believe there's much more value for us. We don't have to be dicks about it. We don't have to be arrogant. We don't have to be harsh and brash and in your face. But I think being consistent and being focused and being strong in that, there's a lot of value in it. I know there's this big fear of being canceled or people arguing with you and saying other things, because everybody's got an opinion now. That's okay. That's okay. We got to be okay with it. Larry Levine, I love Larry. And I love that Larry and I in social media, and Larry and I, when he's a guest on our show, we can disagree about things. And it almost brings us closer together. And I know that's not as prevalent in the world as it used to be. But if we flip-flop to try to appease that. We're not earning that respect, and we're not earning that consistency, and we're not being remembered. So, anything you guys want to add to that? I'm all done for the day. I just, these have been really, really on my mind especially as it pertains to LinkedIn, because we get behind the keyboard to write something. Sorry, Cups. We get behind the keyboard to write something, and we have a tendency to filter ourselves down a little bit because we start thinking about that audience out there, and we water it down. Go ahead, Cups. I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking the riches and the niches is an interesting thing. It's got me thinking. I'll spend a little more time on it. But when I think about our business, this is actually a message we can take to the COO, because they've got so many competing projects, and a lot of them are adopt AI, very generic. What does that even mean to a COO, right? So, if I was thinking about ActiveOps in particular, if I narrow the view to say, this is where you're going to get return on investment, whatever the thing is that they're going to get productivity, blah, 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 blah. But it's an interesting way of saying that you may be spending too much time up here when you need to be here, So that's interesting. So I'm going to think about that and maybe even write about that. And Chris, I'm a dog walk. I get my best thoughts out when I walk my dog. I'm usually out by 6 a.m. and then sometime in the afternoon, evening, depending on how stressed my day went. And so that's the best thinking time. Maybe I'll interview you on my show sometime about that.
That sounds great. Honestly, it's I agree. I'm an early morning guy, and it's a great way. Like, if I don't do it, my day is a little bit off kilter somehow. So when I travel, stuff like that. So yeah, great time to think. I do kind of toggle back and forth. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts or other stuff, and other times just let the mind go where it goes. But Brandon, I like the thought of taking something I've done and something people know me for, but dialing it into a more specific type of a cadence. Here's what I'm thinking about with relationship and how it relates to our business. And just kind of lean into that, once a week or whatever that looks like.
Good stuff.
Yeah, great reminders, Brandon.
Good. Well, and I needed them too. Like, and you guys, if you see me slipping, please feel free to kick me in the ass, because there's a lot of opportunity for us to serve people. There's a lot of people right now that are struggling in everywhere. It's like, Cups, you said it. Your industry, they're just being bombarded with AI. On my side, CEOs, we just had a call with I had a call with a sales leader, and it was interesting. Cups, you might appreciate this. We've just shifted away from funded tech companies because honestly, they've been a real pain in the ass for us. A lot of time and little close. And I took the call because he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I just watched your show. Love to connect and talk." 2 days later, he said, "I watched your last episode 3 times, and I watched the episode before that once. Here's what's going on." And he said, I sat down and did the data on our SDR team. And in the past year, we had a 97% close loss rate with our SDR opportunities. And so we laid off the entire SDR. And here's the interesting thing. Up until this point, they didn't even look at their data around the SDRs. It was just, this is the way you do things. This is part of the process. Everything's good because, well, number one, money was cheap and they just kept getting funded. But it was the way you do things. And he had clarity. We laid off all of our SDRs, and then we outsourced to an SDR team thinking it was going to be different, and they've been miserable. He said, we also know that we have almost a 40% close rate on our AE created opportunities, but our AEs don't know how to create opportunities anymore because, as he said, I've taken out all the tricks in my bag, all the tactics I know, and none of them are working. That's from my industry, but I think in all of your industries, there's a lot of confused frustrated, scared, put the adjective in there you want. People are just in this oh shit moment. And they're successful people, they're experienced people, but the world has changed so much around them that they're not sure how to take the next step. And I don't know if you guys saw the episode where we had Matthew Dixon in on Jolt Effect. Great book, kind of a boring episode. Honestly, I love reading his stuff, but oh my gosh, it was like one big long soliloquy. Don't ever tell him I said that.
What happens in the training group stays in the training group, right?
But one of their big findings in their and it's all just very data analysis driven, was people right now are driven by FOMO, not FOMO. Right? It's not, we've been taught as salespeople so often to push the buttons on the fear of missing out. And what their data shows is if we push that button, we're going to lose the deal faster than if we come along as that trusted advisor and start to ask what's really going on, what are they really concerned about, and be that trusted advisor, because the fear of messing up is greatest. And if you think about it, we've all made some really, really dumb decisions over the last 5, 6, 7 years because everything was so new and we were making decisions on things that we hoped were going to work, but we didn't know. I know that's a general statement, but so there's a lot of opportunity out there for all of us. People are scared, they're nervous, they're frustrated. Clarifying and getting your message really, really targeted. We're going to win more deals because people know exactly who we are and how we fit and how we help them solve their problems.
Great.
Okay.
Hey, Brandon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I figured out my problem.
Well, which one are you referring to specifically?
Is it a general statement?
The one where I couldn't hear anybody and nobody could hear me when I was on a Zoom call.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you got that fixed.
I got a lot of other problems. If y'all want to hear them, I'd be happy to.
I don't think we're going to get it into 11 minutes that we got left. But
Brandon is on that list.
Awesome.
Brandon, can I just kind of pivot off of what you were saying? So
yeah,
I have a dual role, right? I sell and I coach. So player coach type of a deal. I've got a couple of younger folks on my team around 30. One had some event experience, no sales experience. The other person had some sales experience, no event experience. So they're learning as we go. And everything that I knew how to tell them what to do that I did, when I started in the industry 28 years ago, it's not working. None of this is working. And I'm like reaching for, right? So the older folks, more experienced folks who have built that network and have, years, decades of experience in the industry, like we're still building relationships and hopefully using modern tools to do what we were doing before. But the newer folks, they're the ones who are struggling. So part of what I'm trying to do is not only learn for myself, but learn to teach, because, hey, you need to do more outreach. You need to do more cold calls. You need to do cold emails. And then finally it's like, Chris, I've sent 1,000 emails, not one response. Like literally we need to do something different.
Yeah.
So, new tools and new ideas, leaning into or taking advantage of digital and AI and things like that. But going back to one of the first things that you said is the relationship is the most important part. And we're just coming up with new ways to kind of build that relationship, right? It's not rocket science, just a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, anything else you want to add?
No, thanks. This was a great session.
Good. The recording will be up by the end of the day in the community. I do have this question. I have some requests from you guys. We created the community, and honestly, not a lot of people have gone there for the engagement that we were expecting to create. So it's there, but we haven't put emphasis on it. I moved for our coaching group into a LinkedIn messaging. I'm hesitant to put a whole bunch of stuff in there because it's your LinkedIn thing getting hit all day long. So I've been kind of hesitant. I can turn on the Slack channel, but I know sometimes, like Cups, I don't know if you're allowed to have Slack with the, you know, your tech requirements and things like that. Love for you guys to tell me if we want to do more in the community, because I think there's a lot of opportunity to help each other and run questions by each other. And hey, what do you guys think of this? And, you know, like this week, and I my apologies, I didn't put in there. There was a bunch of stuff going on with LinkedIn where the data was all jacked up. Your impressions were really low. There was crazy things. Like I had a post that I had about 20 some comments on it, and it showed me that I had 412 impressions, which doesn't make sense at all. Like not with 20 comments. LinkedIn's data was all jacked up, and I should have went into the community, into our group, and said, hey guys, if you're experiencing low data, don't worry about it. Something's messed up with LinkedIn. I want to inform you guys with that, but I'm hesitant to keep pushing things in your LinkedIn channel and frustrate you guys as you're trying to work all day and you're getting beat from the community. So think through what would work best for you guys to get more value out of this community and this group. Okay. I appreciate it. And the last thing I will say, and I don't usually plug this stuff, but as we've pivoted into our concierge programs, the one area I've left open because I like serving the individual producer or a small business owner who's a CEO but is still the head of sales. So we've opened up our individual program. It's $197 a month. You get access to our AIQ and you get access to your digital twin. The only difference is you have to make it work. You have to use it yourself instead of our concierge doing it for you. So if you know anybody that wants to be a part of it, I'd appreciate the referral. Okay. All right, gentlemen, really appreciate you guys. And I'm here if you need me, if you have any questions at all. You all have my cell phone, text away or put it into the group channel.
So Brendan, is that like $2,400? My math is failing me. $2,400 a year for that?
Yeah, a little under that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that if we can take this off. Sorry to Chris and Butch, but that's something that I think is digestible to go back and pitch to Spencer for the other team members.
Okay.
We'd have to think about how we get them trained to do it.
Yeah. So if we do that, we could talk about creating a private group for active ops, like instead of, because if you bring 5 or whatever, you're going to spend 10 grand.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you're going to spend $1,000 a month or whatever anyway. So we can look at something to be a bit more specific if we need to.
Yeah. I mean, we've got our kind of pilot going, so we'll get through that and kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Have a great
Sounds
weekend,
good.
everyone.
All right. You guys too. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.